This is The Civil Fleet, the podcast focused on activist-led refugee rescue and support missions across Fortress Europe, with me, Ben Coles. In today's episode, we speak with Syrian refugee Hasan about why he was forced to flee Syria and how he was treated by the authorities while attempting to reach Europe. Hasan, which is not his real name, is now safe and living in London. He was also detained here in Britain after reaching the country and was held in one of the notorious former British Army barracks while his asylum claim was being processed. He's going to tell us all about that too, and why it is an awful way to treat asylum seekers. We'll also hear his thoughts on British Home Secretary Priti Patel's new policy to ship refugees off to Rwanda. Before we get into today's episode, I'd just like to remind you that the Civil Fleet is not just a podcast, it's also a website. You can go to civilfleet.com to find out more. We've got news reports there, features and interviews, and even some investigative reports, so check it out. And last thing before we get started, you can also help us to cover the costs of running the Civil Fleet. Doesn't cost much, but a little bit of money would be nice. To donate the price of a coffee or a beer, or even more if you like, you can go to ko-fi.com/civilfleet. That's ko-fi.com/civilfleet, and you can donate a couple of pounds, a couple of dollars, a couple of whatevs over there. Anyway, on with the show. Hasan, thank you very much for coming on the Civil Fleet podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome, Hasan. So could you tell us, this is the first time actually on the Civil Fleet podcast that we've interviewed someone who's had to flee from their country and who's actually had a refugee experience. So thanks very much for coming to talk to us about it. I know it might be difficult to talk about, or you've had a hard experience that a lot of people listening to this are not going to be able to, have never experienced. So you are originally from Syria, Hasan. Could you, tell us briefly a little bit about your life in Syria and why you had to leave? I mean, you've just told me about this before we started recording, but can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, first of all, Hasan is not my real name. I'm using this name for my family protection. I don't want them to be accused by that government that I'm trying to tell the whole world what is going on in Syria. Anyway, before the revolution started, I can tell you that we were fine, we were happy, we were in stable country. To be honest, in the Middle East, like comparing to the other countries in the Middle East, we were stable, and all around us was like you can feel at that point that there is a changes going. Started with the Iraq war. The first time we have received millions of refugees from Iraq, we were really affected. We felt their pain, we felt their struggling, and yet we didn't open a camp for them. They lived among us, and they were treated like the Syrians citizen. And that welcoming effort was done by the community, not the government. I feel that change is needed at that times. We should have democracy. We should have choice. We should have. We should rule our own self, actually. And nobody did things at that point. We still we still under that influence of that we were ruled by this government for like 40 years, and that we were ruled first by the Assad, the fathers, then now the sons, and some people like me, we put some hope on him in the beginning. We thought that he's going to do change, and slowly he will, this is what we expect from a doctor studying and lived in the UK for a while, and he was open for the Western cultures, and he was young when he became a president. So we put some hope anyway. Then it happened also another war in Lebanon, and when Israel attacked Lebanon, we had also received big number of refugees, and it was the second time we deal with the refugee issue, and this time it was like a quick one, so they didn't stay for more than 2 months. But anyway, the government did nothing. We, as a community, helped them, and again, some people were like really appreciating the suitability we had it, and they are not able to. They were like they. It's like a decision that we don't want to compromise. We don't want to try to get the freedoms and lose the stability. So we ignore so many things. The economy was good. That's one of the reasons why most of the people were quiet, and less people at that point were still having hope that the Assad will change his behavior, or he will deliver what he promised at the beginning. Then in 2011, suddenly the Arabic Spring started, and we were watching other regimes, and two of them are really old regimes changing and people getting their own freedoms, like what happened with Ben Ali in Tunisia, and what's happening with Mubarak in Egypt, what was happening also to Gaddafi in Libya. We feel that if those people are able to change the regime, why we should not be able to do that? Anyway, we didn't start the revolution in Syria. Nobody was brave enough, maybe. Nobody believed enough that we could do it, but people definitely were wondering. Till some kids in Daraa, they went out of the school and they wrote some comments on the school wall, and one of them was, "It is your turn now, doctor." It was it was really a brief message that it is because Bashar Assad was a doctor. Anyway, so it is his turn now, and the regime should change. Those kids were arrested. Many of them they were arrested. Their family tried to negotiate with the government. The one who arrested them was Atif Najib. He's also a cousin of Bashar Assad. So he was ruling this area, and they were arrested by his orders. And when the families tried to meet him, he was rude, I think, at that times with them, and he said he will send them, he will release them. And what he did, he released their bodies. Actually, he didn't even like just not release them. He make sure that those kids was killed and sent the body with a torturing, mark on the bodies to the family. So it was like shock.
That's
It was
horrible.
really shock.
Yeah.
We were like we get this information in the social media. We get information from people we know, and we didn't believe that this is the reaction of someone in his positions, and this is the way he dealt with the kids. And some people were like on denial, like me. Like I was like on denial. I didn't believe that is happening. Some of them they were like the opposite. They were very angry, and they just went for protesting. And when people went in for protesting in Daraa, in the south, we were watching in all around Syria, all watching. And when the government started shooting on them, then we start the first protesting and in Damascus. And we did when we went to the street for the first time, we didn't say even we need to change the regime. We didn't say that. We were shouting and calling that we are one. You can't kill the people in Daraa, and we still feel safe here or in other places. We will just say that one, the Syrian are one, and you can't divide us. The next protesting was about stop killing. The third one, we were asked for change, and then the revolution start in this way. Like you be in something, you don't know it is a revolution. You don't dare even that it is a revolution, but you find yourself in the middle of revolutions, and things escalate really fast and lead to all the things.
And that's what, yeah, and that's what it was like leading up to it. And you were telling me before we started recording why you had to leave, and we won't go into that now. But you basically you said that you had no choice, and you had to go. You had to leave the country. So Hasan, can you tell us about your journey to Europe? And perhaps maybe you can say a little bit, like you said before we started recording, that it wasn't your choice to come
No,
to Europe, was it?
no, it was not my choice at all. I have been displaced inside Syria. I had to leave my city, Damascus, flee to the north where it was controlled by the opposition. And I didn't feel that I am a refugee. I feel I'm displaced, but I was still Syrian inside Syria, and I still has having that hope that I will come back again to my city, and I will maybe things will be changed around us. The regime could leave or some things, or we will have some deal maybe with the government. But within time, I lost that hope, and I realized that it's not about the Syrian people against the regime. And it was never like this, but for me, I was not really convinced that it is not between us and the government. I realized when I was in the north that it is Syrian people against Russia, against China, against Iran, North Korea, all these people who have support the regimes, they keep supporting him, and and we don't have really a good ally like the regime have, so we didn't have a chance. And if you don't want to fight, if you don't want to join a group and fight against the government, and sometimes against other groups. Unfortunately, this is what's happening. This is the truth. If you don't want to fight, there is no place for you in the whole country. There is no place for you. I couldn't stay in the regimes. I have been stopped. I've been arrested, tortured. I'm glad that I'm alive, and I'm alive, and I don't want to be arrested again or being killed by the regime. So I had to escape to the north. In the north, because of the regimes attacking the town after town, the Russian was attacking anything with a light during the night. They have the air dominations, and they have they keep striking anything like you know uh, during the night. So it is not a safe place, and I didn't want to join any group and fight. The only option I have it is just to leave my country. It was a really hard decision. I don't think it is a decision. I didn't till now. I can't see that I had another option to stay. So I become a refugee, and yes, I was seeking asylum, and but for us, at that point, and for most of the people actually who try to seek sanctuary somewhere else, they don't think a lot about that term like seeking sanctuary or seeking asylum or are refugees. For all of them, they are a refugee who have lost their home because of the war and they want a safe place to stay. And I couldn't find that place in Turkey. Turkey had already received 5 million refugee from Syria, and they were involved in what's happening in North. Unfortunately, they are fighting with a few party against a few other parties. They have their own plan for the north of Syria, and they have their own agenda, and they are simply not giving us the right to stay in their country, even temporarily. Like I couldn't have a right to stay. Anytime I could be arrested, sent back to the north. So uh, it was the only option also to stay is to move on. For someone come from Syria and he have access only, to Turkey. If you want to move on, you have to come to Europe. There is no other option. So again, I didn't feel that I have an option, and again, I become a refugee. And on that journey, I start realizing and understanding what the differences between someone seek asylum and refugees. Why why people are not acknowledged people like me immediately straight away as a refugee. They will keep trying to pushing them and they keep trying to give them any other name other than refugee. We were illegal people try to cross borders. That's what they called us in Turkey, and that's what they called us in Greece. And even when I came to the UK and I seek asylum in the UK, I was an asylum seeker, not a refugee. Noting that I become a refugee, and I have my case, and it was a strong one, and people like me should be acknowledged as a refugee immediately. But yet, I have been dumped in that limbo and had to go through all this process seeking asylum and to have my right to stay and have my right to rebuild my life after all, which is a kind of challenging, to be honest, because for someone like me, for example, I already I already lost so many years in my life, the best year in my life in war. You feel that you run out of from times and you just want to start your life, rebuilding your life. Unfortunately, by pushing the refugees from European borders back, you are stealing their right of being safe and rebuild their life and have their own life in the first place. If I want to mention to you like how many times I tried to cross the borders from Turkey to Greece, it was 9 times. In total 9 times I tried to cross the border. Every times I was being arrested, detained for sometimes, in police stations and in military camps, uh, being moved from place to another, then done back to Turkey side, in the Turkey side again, being arrested for a weeks. Then again, they dump us back to the Syrian border. So in total, I tried 9 times. 8 times I failed, and only in the 9 times I make it to the Greece without being arrested. This times, all these times, and all this is dangerous. Trying or attempting to cross the border was things I can't now. I can't now forget it, and it was important time for me, and I feel down at that times, and I couldn't understand why they are not only just give us safe passage, and we didn't ask for much, we didn't ask for much. Like even in Turkey, they were if they were able to keep us there and not send us to the north of Syria or handing us to other parties in the north, we would stay. But that was not the case.
You made it from Turkey to the UK. I don't know. I don't know if you want to talk about that, or if you can. How was that journey? Like, it sounds like you had a really horrible time trying to get into Greece, and then how did you make it towards the UK?
Yeah, yeah. When you arrive when you arrive some point in Greece, they will stop sending you back. If you are, for example, anywhere before Salonika and being arrested for, and probably you will be because you don't have any document, you don't have any ID, and don't speak the language, so it will be easy for them to spotting you. They will send you to Turkey. So when I make it and I arrived to Athens for the first time, I was injured. I couldn't walk. Had to recover it. During my recovering time, I was staying in share accommodations where other asylum seekers are staying, and I heard their stories about their previous attempting for traveling from Greece to any other Europe country to seek asylum, and I realized from them for the first time that staying in Greece also it's not an option, and you know because I didn't plan for all these things or all this journey in general. I didn't have enough information, so I start knowing the information stage. At the time, um, there is a few reasons why Greece is not an option for most of the asylum seekers to stay and have their own status there. One of them because it is overwhelmed. They have already received big number of the refugees, and they are not prepared to receive more. So their process of processing the asylum claims are really long. So you could stay an asylum seekers for a few years, and during this few years you don't get any kind of support, and it's make no sense to stay there if you don't have a relative or friend or whatever. So ideally, if you have an option to go so to somewhere else to seek asylum, that will be better. So most of the people in Greece who was like seeking asylum, they were from Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, Iran, Kurdistan, from Eritrea, Ethiopia, Somalia, are trying to get their status, and at the same time they are trying to find some way out from Greece to other European country because it is faster. And and I just start thinking where I have to go. I have a relative in Germany and cousins and uncles. I have friends and relative in Netherlands. But I thought that they are like any other European country. They are safe, and I could start there again. But I feel for sometimes I feel like I'm already I already spent 10 years from my life on war, and it is my best 10 years I can ever have it. And to start over again in a new country, it will take time and effort. If it's in country I don't speak the language. If I speak English, so why I will not seek asylum in a country where I can communicate with people immediately, when I can start studying, when I can read and write. So so ideally was is to go to the UK for this reason only. And the other reason was I think it was a psychology reason. You, I feel that I really need to be as far as I can from that madness in my country. Like ideally to be really far. And I think the UK was the farthest point I could go at that time. I feel safe when I arrived, to be honest, just because I'm away from all this madness. Just because I'm as much I can be away. I decide that I will go to the UK, and it's worth to try. If I couldn't make it, any other European country would be fine. This is, I just need to save time and rebuild my life. By coming to the UK, I think I will save few years. I didn't know that the process was really difficult and hard, but like language-wise, I can save a few years. And I understand the culture here, and I always feel like I have this understanding for the English culture and the I like the people in general. So I decided I will go to the UK, and was that actually was a difficult choice because UK was not part from the Schengen, so the smuggler was like really difficult to send people to the UK. So if they will do, they will charge really high, double the normal charge for any European country. I didn't have that money at that times. I spent most of my money trying to go to Greece, and I decided that I will try that by myself without smuggler. So I just bought a passport. Yeah, it's also it is also another funny story now. It just look like funny, but at that time it was really stressful. I had to communicate with smugglers, and I went to coffee shop in Athens where you met all the smugglers there, and it was odd uh, experience. Anyway, I choose a passport on from the smuggler phone. It was a Hungarian passport for someone who looked like me, and I choose that passport because it is very difficult to find people in airports speaking Hungarian, so it's very difficult to spot me. And by the day where I have to go and pick that passport, he surprised me, that smuggler, that he sold that passport, so he offered me another passport, and that passport was a German passport for someone who does not look like me, but in my age. But because I have no other option, I just accept it, and I decided it's worth to try anyway. So I booked myself to Spain, and I I make it. I just landed in Spain, and nobody spotted me actually.
On a plane, you flew there.
Yes, to Spain. Nobody spotted me at the airport, and I didn't even have to show my passport. It was on my bucket, and I was expecting actually to be uh, spotted on Barcelona airport, and then I have to seek asylum there, but nobody noticed. Uh, 5 minutes after landing, I found myself outside the airport. So it was like really unplanned. I found myself outside. Or most of the people who know that I'm flying to Barcelona, that I will be definitely uh, arrested there, and then I have to seek asylum in Spain, and then I have to build my life in Spain. But nobody spot me, so I could take any train or travel anywhere in Europe within the Schengen and seek asylum in any other place. And still, I have my passport, so I thought it's worth to try to come to the UK. I will, I, I will book myself a ticket to the UK and use the same password and see what will happen. So next day morning, I did it. I uh, I bought a ticket to Gatwick in London. Yeah, I didn't know that airport even. I just know Heathrow. Anyway, when I found it Gatwick and it's like in London and it was the only available fly, I said I will try it. I will do it. So I went to the airport again, and yeah, suddenly that passport worked. The electronic gate was opened, and I did the boarding and. 3 hours after that, I found myself landing in London. I didn't believe, to be honest. Like it was like unexpected. When I landed, even here, I don't know the process. I just approached one of the security. Uh, he was a border security, I think, and I told him that uh, this is my this is not my passport. I'm not this guy. I bought this passport from Ascens, and I'm Syrian. And I told him my real name, and I'm seeking asylum. He was like, "Really? Can you repeat that again?" And he just repeat that again. So he take the passport, and he said, "It's not your passport." I said, "No, it's not mine." And he said, "Do you have any proof that you are Syrian or something?" I said, "Yes, I can, but it's in my phone. I can just email you if you want." He gave me an email. I just sent my ID, my real ID photo to his emails. And he called everyone in the airport, and everyone was coming and asking, and have these conversations. And they asked me, how I did it and how I came. And I told them everything. So then they said it's not their job to interview me, actually, but they were like curious to know how I make it. I explained to them, and they said they are calling the home office, so someone will come and take care of me. So I had to wait for a couple hours. Then two gentlemen from the home office came and they asked me why I'm here and why I'm seeking asylum. And I was straightforward from day one. I just explained to them why I'm there, how I came, why I'm seeking asylum. And they said that there is a process and they have to go through all this process. And that was called a screening interview, and I will have substantive interview in the futures. Then they will decide if I am eligible to be a refugee and stay, or I have been, I will be rejected or deported. All this will know in the future, and the process starts in this way. I couldn't sleep for the first 2 nights. I just didn't realize that I can't really express that feeling that how I make it. I don't know. I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm not going to say it, but how we make it, it is. Uh, it's destiny, I think, just destiny. I found myself in London, and I started the process of seeking asylum.
That is so lucky, and it's amazing as well. Like what a journey. Can I check, Hassan? What? So you what year was it when you fled Syria when you left, or do you not want to say?
Yeah, of course I can say like I left my city Damascus in September 2018.
And then how long did it take you to get into Greece?
Yeah, I decided to leave Syria and become a refugee on April 2019. In April 2019, I started trying. I make it finally to Greece on 2020.
Wow.
Yeah, it was on December actually. 2019. So I arrived before 2020 to Greece. And there I had to stay for a while because I couldn't walk. So I came to the UK in July. And if you remember, in July, only few plane was going in the 2020. I think I was one of 13 person uh, on the plane from Barcelona to London, if you can imagine that.
That must have been very, very surreal.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
surreal.
It's a destiny, and I was lucky, and I consider myself lucky to be alive, even. You know.
I mean, it sounds like you were lucky to be alive, and it's so unfair that what's happened to you and how this happened. I'm really happy that you managed to make it here, and it was, it should be so much easier. It should be so much easier to get here. You shouldn't have to do that. But that's the situation, isn't it? And then the asylum process is infamous, I think, in this country for taking a long time. And I think you end up in in Penally training camp. The British government still now is putting asylum seekers or refugees, people seeking asylum, people on the move, I think is a better term, is still putting people into old army barracks. And you had this
Yes.
process, right? You went through this.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. The whole the whole process or the whole system of seeking asylum in the UK have some gaps, and the pandemics makes everything worse. People may say, well, like staying in a hotel, it's not a bad things or something like this. Anyway, I didn't found it, you know, useful to stay in a hotel in the first place. They put me in London for some time, then they moved me to Bristol, then they moved me to camps in West Wales. I didn't find that useful or the right things to do for people who have traumatized already, probably are victims of human trafficking in their journey. They need to be taken care by NGOs and case workers who can see them. So putting them in a hotel at that time was not a good idea. Moving us to the barracks also was really bad idea. For the first 2 nights, I can't tell you now. The first 2 nights inside the barracks was like awful night for me. Like feel that I'm trapped and surrounded by fence with a wide wrapped and all the securities around us and the far right on gate. It was really unpleasant and feel that I'm unsafe and feel that the situation in general is deteriorating. Like I was in a hotel, then moved to barracks, then maybe next day in detention center, then maybe next week in a plane and somewhere else. Uncertain about what's going on, but in general feel it is deteriorating. It's become worse and worse and worse. Again, at that point we didn't have enough information. The barracks thinks or the camps thinks it was a new things for everyone. People who used to support the refugees and asylum seeker in the UK for a decade didn't have even clue what's going on. And again, it's happening now. The government is trying to announce or try to passing the anti-refugee bills, which says at some point that the new arrival to the country, they will be sent to a reception center, they said, which is, we have no idea what is this reception center, but we think that it's similar to the Napier barracks or Benali camps, but I think with more limitation on people moving out. So it is more like detention center than it is our reception center. I think it's the detention center, but it's a massive one, will be a massive one, and have no name of detention or prison. So it's confusing. Then again, now the government come with a new plan of sending people to Rwanda. So it is like this. There is no certain things on this process. There is you can't say at all that there is a standard process or all the people have been treated equally, or that you start at this point and there is a time frame, you will be accepted or rejected by this time frame. Nothing like that. It is all the times new situation and new challenge, and you have to co-op with it. You have to deal with it. Some people are less fortunate than others. They can't fight and go through all this process. This is what annoying me the most. Like seeing people unable to sleep, and seeing people are really anxious about the situations, feel trapped. Their mental health is deteriorating, and all the things around them distract them, and they couldn't make it. They couldn't make it. That's one of the reasons why I'm involved in this kind of volunteering work, helping asylum seekers and refugees. I feel that because I lived the situations before, I have been through all this kind of challenges, and consider myself lucky and fortunate to be able to make it. It is one of my duty now to try to highlight some gaps, explain to the people the challenges going on, try to make some change, maybe. Uh, feel like it's a duty or it's a burden now. I have to talk about it. I have to tell people how it look like. I have to tell the people it's not the right things to deal with the refugees or the asylum seekers. None of the asylum seekers should go through all this process. There are better way to deal with that than the current one.
How do you think would be, a fair way for people that were in your situation to get to the UK? What would be a better system?
First of all, safe passage. I don't think that the people who are seeking refuge and leaving their home country, they are in the position to take clear decisions at the first place, and they trust anyone at that point, and they don't really have an options. So they put their life on the hand of the smugglers, or um, people who work for smugglers sometimes, and they will be a victims of human trafficking for sure, whether they know that or they didn't know that they are. So in order to help those people, we should actually, not the only government have to do, we should go to the country around the war zone and try to receive the asylum seeker at the first point, explain to them the challenges, explain to them what's going to happen for them, try to give them safe passage, try to convince the other country to go and contribute with the refugees issues by receiving them at the first point. They are already suffer enough. They don't have to go through all this journey, put their life and other people's life at risk, to reach one of the safe country and start their own life. I think at 2022 now, and the European countries, including UK, are capable to go and receive those people. For example, on like what they did now, for example, with the Ukrainian issue was really good. And should that example, should that be applicable for all other countries, right? Why the Afghani people have to, spend years working till they will seek asylum in some of the European country? Why the Syrian have to do that? Why the Eritreans or the Ethiopians or Somalians have to take all these journeys, dangerous journey? Most of them, they will not make it. Most of them, they will be killed during that. People disappear, people get killed. People, the Mediterranean are full of bodies of people just try to cross to safe countries. So we should do better, I think. This is from my point of view. We should go to the countries where it is uh, uh, where it is like more likely that the people will try to cross this country for the first time, and try to help the asylum seeker at that point, and starting with explain to them the challenges, start explain to the process, starting with explain to them the kind of the people will meet, like we should go at least to Turkey, for example, and tell anyone now trying to cross to Europe that you will deal with a human trafficker. Those people are, you know, one, two, three. I have to explain to them all those people. You should not trust them. You should, all the things just to make it easier for them, and show them some alternative way. Like there is some scheme we can like the government here in the UK have moved like 20,000, I think, Syrians before through resettlement scheme. It's apart from UN schemes for the refugees. They try to take refugees from camps and around world and resettling them in some countries like Sweden, Canada, UK. It's an alternative. It is now done, on small groups, like 20,000 people since 2015, I think, or 16 they started. It's nothing actually. The number is really tiny, but with some effort, with more campaigning, they could do that, in big numbers. They could do that and save people life, literally save people life, because those people will be picked from around the country they have conflict, and at first point they arrive at to it. Like they took people from Lebanon, they took people from Turkey, they took people from Iraq, where they just escape and seek asylum in one of the camps, and other country can come there and help them, resettle them. So there is alternative way. There is definitely better way than the one we are doing it now in this way. One more thing: if we can't enhance the system, we should not make it worse. like, like, like what is the government now do, sending people to Rwanda and all this plan? It's definitely worse than what we have right now. I don't know how they're thinking. I don't know what the logic behind of that. I think there is no other. Just like if I want to understand their logic, I would say they are racist. They are racist. They are really, really this. Let us say they are racist only. I don't want to be rude with anyone, but definitely they are racist. Definitely they are. They know what they are doing. They are just making it worse, and they do that in purpose.
I think so. I think you're right. I think they are racist. And I mean, if they don't believe themselves to be racist, their policies and what they're doing is racist. And it's surprising how, like you said, like how for white people fleeing Ukraine, it's very, it's not easy. I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's a very different experience to what you've had. And even on that, this government, the UK government, is dragging their heels, taking a long time to get to allow people to come here. What do you make of the Rwanda plans and the government is now not going to try to pursue pushbacks anymore in the channel, but they were talking about that. Do you think any of this would deter people from coming to this country?
No, I don't think the people will even know or realize before they will come here. You can't explain, the government tried to send that message that we are really racist. Don't come to this country. We will treating you in this way. We will send you to Rwanda or some other places. If they have a chance to send them back to the sea, they will do. They tried to do that before. The Minister of Defense said, no, we will not push people back in this way. We will not kill people in crossing the channels. But if they can, they will do this government. They will try to send this message. Now, how people will see this message outside the UK? Like the people now in Calais in France, and they are waiting to cross the channel. Do you think that they will know? I don't think so. Do you think that they will understand this plan? I don't think so. Do you think that even if they come to know about this plan and all this government evil plan to send people to Rwanda, that they will understand it in the same way? I will tell you, they will be under influence of their smuggler. Their smuggler only will use that to charging them more money. They will try to get more money. That they will give them some promises that this is not applicable on you. It will be applicable on someone else. We use that road. We don't use this road. You will not be arrested in the sea. That's only for the. They will come up with a plan and they will convince them that it's not going to affect them. They will only charge them more money, and the money they don't have, by the way. Most of this money they will be paid by their families and and make anyone else's life is like really horrible because they have to lend money again and so many things. People are waiting chance to cross the channels. They will not listen or think carefully about all those things. So they will try to believe what the smuggler will say. Smuggler will get use of that by charging more money. They will make more money, so then it will be more organized, and that will have a bad effect on the refugees and to the UK. The UK have to deal now with so many other issues happening because of the smuggler will try to take different route. They will try not to be spotted at the sea. Probably they will take more dangerous route than before, and all that because of this plan. None of the asylum seekers who try to seek asylum now know the process. None of them even know that what the difference between being an asylum seeker or refugee. Most of the people I met, when you ask them, they will say, "Oh, I'm a refugee," you know. And it's really difficult to explain to them the differences at that point. Like, you don't have the status. Yes, I believe that you deserve to be a refugee. I believe you should get your status on spot, but you don't have it right now, and the differences is like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, and obviously, this is one of the things I thought when the government brought it in. Well, not just me, but a lot of people, like people that are on the move, that are in situations like you've been in, are not going to look at the government websites and find out about what's happening in Rwanda, the Rwanda plans or the pushback plans, and so I think the only reason that the government does it is for their own supporters, is to gain support from racists, basically, gain support from people that supports their policies. And it's really grim. It's really sad.
It is. But far right people will vote for this government just because of the supply. It's work for them. Doesn't matter for them, like some people will kill themselves after being deported to Rwanda or no. And this is what's going to happen. I don't think people will take it easily. People suffer a lot to reach safe country, and after they arrived or they feel that they arrived to safe country, they will be deported. You are taking hope from people after you give in to them. They already reached. So when they will arrive and they will be deported to Rwanda, I don't think they will take it. I don't think they will be. I will not be able to take it, to be honest. Like, if I have been deported now after arriving here to Rwanda or other countries, I don't think I will be. I will make it. I don't think I will be mentally able to handle it. So this government know what's going to happen and know the risk of sending people there. They know that they will not have right or legal representing or whatever. It's a big challenge for the people in the UK seeking asylum to have legal aid. So how they will get it in Rwanda or other places? Anyway, but it's work for the government. The far right people will vote for this Tory government because this ugly plan, and they will vote more if they have more evil plan.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a shit situation. Hassan, we've been speaking for nearly an hour. I just wanted to ask, how is your life now? You have refugee status. You might not want to get too much into your life now because it might identify you. But how has it been since you've got refugee status now, right, for the UK?
Yeah. I was lucky comparing to others. I take my refugee status relatively fast and faster than anyone else. And I'm working. I'm paying my taxes, and I'm cycling a lot around London. Enjoy my time, yes. Try to rebuild my life, but I never forget what I have been through, and I'm trying to pay back the society by involving in voluntary work related to the asylum seekers and refugees. I I found myself now safe and consider myself lucky, but I can't really feel safe till that law will change and the situation for the new asylum seekers who will come to the UK are really safe. I feel that it is one of my duty. Like, if we all think that we are not safe, till everyone will be safe, then we will have better society, then we will have better law, and then we will have better process for all those people. Uh, yeah, apart from that, everything is good, you know. I think I'm lucky to stay alive, and I'm lucky to have this second chance. I consider it as a second chance, you know, to rebuild my life in the UK again. Yeah, and I hope I will use it in a right way.
I'm sure you will. And was there anything you wanted to talk about, Hassan, that I didn't ask you? Is there any subjects, any topics you want to talk about before we finish this interview?
No, it's fine.
Great. Well, Hassan, thank you so much for speaking to us. It's really good to get someone with your perspective on the podcast because we haven't had that yet. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Once again, we have to thank Hasan for coming on the podcast and telling us all about his experiences escaping his country and, you know, what he's faced here in the UK. I've wanted to include someone who has a refugee experience on the podcast since I started it, and 25 episodes in, I haven't done it yet. But until this one, I guess it's 24 episodes in. Anyway, I've always found it difficult to speak to refugees that are in a shit situation. I'm not sure about the ethics of interviewing people when they're not safe. But that's one of the reasons why I was happy to talk to Hasan, because he is relatively safe in the UK. And he said he didn't feel safe while this government is pursuing, plans to push people back or to force people to go to Rwanda, which is mental. And I can understand why he doesn't feel safe there. But, you know, compared to other refugees that are on the move, other people that are on the move, he is in a much better situation than them. I don't know, I always wondered what other people think about that. Anyway, let's wrap this thing up. Let's finish episode 25. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for taking part and for sharing my articles. It's really great to see. Thanks for sharing the podcast and for helping keep the word out there. Special thanks to anyone who donates to the Civil Fleet, helps keeps this thing running. You can do that by going to co-fi.com/civilfleet. You can donate a couple of quid, a couple of pounds, a couple of whatever you've got to help me cover the costs of running this thing. That would be wonderful if anyone can help. Anyway, right, that's enough. Please do share the podcast around. You can also write us reviews and that kind of thing. That always helps. Anyway, right, that's it. Definitely it now. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.